So we saw what the global controller was doing. The next class we saw was web config. And here you can see, I wanted to show you how I can work with my session. So what I'm doing is I'm saying enable Spring Session. Anytime there is a session, I check for activity and I time out if that is not being used for 30 minutes. So all I'm trying to do in this particular session configuration is, I'm trying to say enforce anytime there is no activity for the web application for more than 30 minutes, just invalidate the session. So I'm saying maximum inactive interval is 30 minutes. After that, the session gets invalidated. So these are the 3 additional configuration files I've done. Everything else is whatever we have discussed. The cart controller, for example, helps you to work with cart. The product controller helps you to find out different products. User controller manages the login, logout, and registration process. Order controller manages the order and the order history. Okay. Now what is interesting is we wanted to focus on the service classes, right? So let's take the user service class, for example. The user service class is a very simple one. It is going to deal with user and it is going to create a cart. Every time somebody successfully logs into the system, you want to be able to use the user database as well as the cart database. So that's why I'm injecting both of them as auto-wired. And you see the only transaction that I do here is to register a user. So when a user is registered for the first time, if the username is already there, I want to give him a message that the user is taken. If the email is registered also, I want to tell him. If this is not the case, I'm going to save the user in the user repository. And I'll also create a cart, an empty cart for him, and then I'll return it. Okay. So whatever the item that the current person has added into the shopping cart, you don't want to lose it because somebody has not been registered, right? You don't want to lose business, so that's why the user repository. So the user repository's only work is to register a new user. And then let's look into the cart service. The cart service does a bit more complex transaction. So here the only transaction is required and I want the reads to be committed, that's all. Yeah, and I throw a generic exception class, I time out on 20 minutes. On the cart service, however, there's a lot of fun that I can do with a transaction. So I want to show you how the settings work here. So I need 3 database repository, cart, cart item, and catalog, which comes from the product. Now, when somebody wants to get the cart for a user, I want to make sure it is required. It's a transaction and it only reads the clear committed data. When somebody wants to count the items in the cart, I want to make sure that the transaction is supported and I read only the committed data. Okay. Very similarly, when somebody wants to add item to the cart, it is mandatory to have a requirement of a transaction and also commit only committed records and then throw a runtime if it fails. Okay. And you see 4th use of transaction here. I'm updating the quantity when somebody clicks on the plus add quantity. So I need a transaction for it. I want to only read committed data, again runtime exception. So this is a very easy piece where I can show you how transactions are very important. Okay. So this is again require transaction, remove item. Okay. And even the clear cart has to remove the data, so I make sure it's a required transaction and read committed. What you can do is, because all of them are almost the same transaction, it is also possible that at a class level, you can define a transaction. But the thing is, in the methods, the get cart is slightly different, the timeout is slightly different from the other different timeouts. That's why I'm individually mapping transaction for every single thing. And also I want to show how to use transactional annotations for different methods. So that's why I created the cart service as a full illustration of how to use transaction settings. So go through this method, put loggers wherever you want and see how the logs are printing. Then you can see how the method works. Okay. So you can actually introduce loggers anywhere, either in the service or in the controller, and then you can see for yourself. Okay. So let's see. I remember I had the data.sql, which is cut. Let me see, I still have this cut likely. So here I want to paste it. Oh, I mapped it to you. So I lost the data, never mind. So this is basically to create the data set and work on it. Okay. But I still have to fix the error before I go ahead and then do the rest of the demo. So that's basically the service class I want you to understand. So what I'm going to do is on the outlook of how these things work, what you can do is you can see how the scenarios are getting wired. Okay. So I'll give you a more detailed demo as part 2. I'll go back to my room and then record this and then take a look at this. What I want you to try is you want to try coding it on your own. Okay. So I have put some workshop instructions here. So if you see the files inside in the JEE, so you can see that I've added some workshops. I hope I dropped it inside. Okay. So I put a time leaf workshop which teaches you how to set up a controller on your own and then do things on every step. So you can use my course video as your guidance and then complete this workshop. You'll definitely understand how to create controllers and write various methods. As an extension of this, I've created another workshop here which is to show you how services and transaction works. I continue with the same book example that you created in the previous workshop. Here I'm basically putting in individual instructions on when you create a service method, how do you map your transactions to it. So when you try to finish workshop 02 and 03, you will fully understand the other two pieces as well. The workshop 1 that we did was only for JPA and mapping. Here I'm focusing on the web portions and the service portions. So each workshop may take you 1.5 hours. You can use my video on how the coding happens and then read the instructions to be able to finish it. Okay. So if you do these 3 workshops fully, you are equipped to try the CA. Okay. And now I think I'll stop here.